Well,
I'm
that's
talking about the racial thing.
right. Well, what happened, I'll just go back to the beginning of our organization. Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven have coal-fired stations that are fired up in the summer, located in neighborhoods that we're describing. And members of my community, that would be, by my community, I mean people of faith that think of the impact of our energy choices as a moral, theological, and social justice issue. That's
It
what I
is.
mean. We weren't organized as a community then, but we were people called by our faith to get educated about
Yes.
this and get active about this. And out of the faith community that kept showing up at, the campaign was called the Sooty Six campaign. You might remember it. It was in the late 90s.
Okay.
And we did succeed in getting scrubbers. In other words, we succeeded in getting rules to reduce the emissions so that less was coming out of those smokestacks. And
Okay.
so that was a successful campaign. And our network stayed together after that campaign and said, look, if we're against these coal-fired plants in these neighborhoods, what are we for? And we are for conservation, clean energy technologies, and much wider education and awareness of the impact of these choices and that they have on our neighbors and ultimately on ourselves.
Now, this whole possibility of changing over to a wind source for all of the energy in our houses, is this a piece of legislature, or how does that work?
Well, we succeeded a couple of years ago, along with secular environmentalists and other sort of citizen activists,
Right.
in getting the state to say, well, we're going to buy 2% of our power sources from these clean suppliers, and they're going to be required to ramp it up, I believe, to something like 10% by 2010 or something like that. That is called a mandated portfolio. Mandated means required by law, whether federal or state, to preference clean energy sources that will drive the market, that will show investors, oh, let's see if this is a good area for windmills, or how viable would solar be here, or is there biomass resources here? We're trying to be market drivers. Now, there's also a voluntary component, which is what you and I are talking about.
Right.
You click on your computer, go clean energy, and it will send you to your state. And your utility, because of what the state requested them to do, our state utility said, all right, we will offer that option to customers. We'll get the cheapest thing that we can get for them. That's going to be nuclear and coal and petroleum. But for those customers that want to, that volunteer to, there'll be a voluntary option called Connecticut Clean Energy Options. It's going to send you to that when you go there.
Okay. So this is national. Anybody?
Well, our state is one of about 20 states that has a clean energy option on their bill at this time.
I see. And what part did your organization play in winning that clean energy bill?
We showed up, and we encouraged members of our network to show up and tell the legislature that we wanted this opportunity to do this. And there was very good deliberation and very good leadership on this, responding to the grassroots, as you talked about, the power of the grassroots. And they put something in place that the utility company they're comfortable with it. They're passing along the costs. It doesn't really, there's not a downside really for them except keeping track of the paperwork for people that make this decision and, write that on their bills and so on.
It's fabulous.
It is, yeah.
I really am going to, I'm saying this on camera.
Great.
I'm going to go for it. Go
I'll send you a little sticker. We have stickers that say powered by God and clean energy. So I'll
Okay.
send you one of those.
www.gocleanenergy.com.
Yep.
I'm going to do it. And I
great.
think everybody out there should do it too. What is $15 about extra?
Well, no,
Well, it
it'd be
depends on
about
how much you use.
$6 or $8 a month for the average. Our bills are going up all the
$6
time
or
anyways.
$8 a month more
Yes.
to have the peace of mind that you are running your house on wind energy or solar energy, as opposed to burning up the coal and the carbon.
Wind and biomass.
Now, let's talk about on the biomass. That's a biggie. What is biomass? Tell us a little bit about what that's about.
Biomass is stuff breaking down. In Maine, the organization that's like Interreligious Eco-Justice Network, they have a different name, but they are actually taking wood chips, which they have in abundance in Maine,
Yes.
and they're composting them, breaking them down, and making them into fuel. There's probably anywhere where there's really large-scale farming, where there's lots of natural fibers that are just discarded for whatever reason in a process of manufacturing. If that's handled properly, that can have controlled decay and that can generate heat and electricity.
I mean, you're basically like you rake your lawn, and you have that stuff.
That's stuff, that's
that you
right.
take off.
Natural stuff.
And that can be converted into
fuels. And the more of us that say, well, we'd like to have local supplies for our fuels, it's going to cause entrepreneurs to say, well, wow, I'm going to go collect that manure and make myself a little electricity farm. And that will be great. It takes odors out of the air, for example. It closes the loop. In other words, where that fuel might go otherwise might be right into estuaries, right into rivers and ponds where it causes too much growth because of the rich nitrogen that's in that material.
Yes.
So we handle it much, much better and get a whole bunch of benefits: local economies, less odor in the air, and more of a closed circle where the things that are created, let's say on that farm, are used in a cleaner way right close to the farm.
It's fabulous. It's
Win-win.
fabulous. Yeah, yeah. Now let's talk about the impact of on the environment. You believe that we might have to cut this short, but you believe that there's an impact of the carbon monoxide in the air that comes from the fossil fuel that creates more hurricanes and more things like that.
Right. Well, carbon is released into the temperature on the planet
You're going to have
fluctuates.
to say it fast because we're about to go out.
Oh, okay. Well, right, when we burn carbon, we put it into the air. It does affect the way that heat is handled in the environment. Locally and globally, that is causing changes in our weather patterns.
And that's not the case with the wind and the solar, right?
Wind does have a slight air, it makes the areas around it a little bit more windblown,
Yes.
and that is a slight drying factor in those regions. And
But in comparison,
in
what
comparison,
kind of impact would the wind have?
it has zero pollution.
Zero pollution.
Zero pollution.
So you agree with Bob Dylan that the answer, my friend, is
Is
blowing
blowing in the wind. Yeah, I'm going to stay with Bob.
Right.
Thank you, Shaul. Good to be with you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
וכל נתיבותיה Hades